Welcome to the Pew.
Welcome to the Pew, and thank you for catching me off guard again, Ernie.
Oh, blame Igor.
Igor.
As you may recall, last week Michael talked about this snub that he thought he experienced when he visited Space Ibiza, or Ibiza Space, and he ran into an old friend, Lee Chappell, who didn't really greet Michael when he ran into him inside the club.
She greeted me, all right.
So there's been continuation in that story.
Yes, I've since received a very, I think, sincere apology.
And heartfelt
apology from Lee online. And I was going to read it, but now I don't think I should.
See, I'm glad that Lee sent this, because I really didn't think that he was capable of being like mean-spirited or...
No, I didn't either. That's why I was so surprised by the whole thing. And, you know, because it really did seem, it seemed mean-spirited. But after reading his response and his explanation of what was going on inside his head and, you know, the whole situation...
Right, he was just busy working.
Well, basically. But there are a few more things than that. But yeah, I'm fine.
Well,
and then I responded, and then Lee responded to my response, and I responded.
And it's a big love fest now.
And now we're having a baby.
Well, I'll tell you what's mean-spirited. Michael went on a hookup to visit this guy who was giving him a blowjob.
Oh my God!
Then, just as Michael was getting ready to have his happy ending, what happened?
God! Ernie, I'm telling you, I have never been so frustrated in my life. You men out there understand what I'm talking about. When you're this close, I mean like this close to something happening, and then all of a sudden the person either stops, they're tired, or like they change position, or like something happens, and like everything goes away, and like you're like, what are you doing? And I had asked him before that several times. I said, please, do not pick a position and stick with it. Don't like pick a position and then move and then stop and then change hands and then do this and that, you know. And he was like, he acted like he understood every time. He acted like he.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no. This is totally my fault. Totally my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This I'm not gonna do it again. I'm not gonna do it again. And
it's gonna be good.
Give me one chance. And so I would, like an idiot, fall for it and give him one more chance, and he would get right to the point again, and then he would do the same thing over again. And finally I had to say, God damn it, get the fuck away from me. Just leave me alone. Let me get out of here. I cannot do this anymore. You are driving me crazy. I have to go home now.
Hookup's gone wrong.
Yeah, and he was like, no, don't leave. And he got up and he stood at the door like he wouldn't let me leave. And I was like, get out of the way, I'm leaving. And he said, no, please give me one more chance. I said, I've given you chance after chance after chance. Now I'm going home. And I got dressed and I pushed him out of the way. I had to push him out of the way. And I left and I went to the corner and dialed on my phone and called him back. And I said, all right, I'm going to give you one more chance. I don't know why I did that. Because at that point it hurt.
So then you went back.
It had been. And
did he redeem himself?
It had been 3 hours at that point.
Did he redeem himself?
Eventually. But at that point it hurt. And I called and I said, look, I'm going to give you one more chance. And he said, oh, I'm so glad you called. I'm so glad you called. I was so upset that you left. And, you know, so I came back and he did it. And he did it again. He did it twice again. He did the same thing twice again. And I had to tell him again. I had to literally grab him like this and say, you're doing it again. Please don't do it again. And then finally it happened. But it was, I mean, it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth it. I just came home feeling so drained and like, it just...
So drained. Well, I'll tell you what was draining is we're having a New Year's Eve party, and we were talking about New Year's Eve parties that we went to back in the 90s, and the default New Year's Eve party that Michael always seemed to throw involved either Grace Jones or Debbie Harry.
Well, that was because they were the only
draining.
They were the only two celebrities who were readily available, like sort of at the drop of a hat. You could just call and say, here's $20,000, will you come in and like do a party for us? And they would always say yes. One of them would always say yes.
So if you ever wondered why Grace Jones was always hosting New Year's Eve...
or Debbie,
now you know.
And when we had 4 clubs, it was a big problem because we, Grace Jones...
There's only 2 of them.
Yeah, there's only 2 celebrities. So, but we had Nina Hagen that one time. So.
Oh, right. Well, I have this really funny story about Grace Jones, and I'm pretty sure it was on a New Year's Eve, where, and Michael doesn't remember this, but
I do not.
We were in the library at
But he has a photograph, so I guess...
But I do have a photograph of Michael sitting with Grace Jones.
And he's going to show it to you.
And we're going to show it now. And so basically, he runs up to me and says, "Oh, Ernie, I need a hit of ecstasy because Grace Jones wants some ecstasy and she won't go on stage, unless she has her ecstasy." So he's frantically looking for a hit of ecstasy. So I had a cold that night. So I said, "Well, I don't have any ecstasy, but I have this little capsule."
The one night Ernie didn't have any ecstasy.
Well, I was sick.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve, one night
I had
he didn't
medicine.
have any ecstasy.
So I had medicine. So Michael takes the contact and puts it into a glass of champagne and then goes up to Grace Jones and says, "Oh, here, I found you some ecstasy. I put it into this glass."
No,
so
you said I did it in front of her. I put it in front of her to show her that I put it in front of her.
And then she said, "Oh, it doesn't look like ecstasy."
Right.
And then Michael had to say, "Oh, it's this new kind of ecstasy, multicolored, little, granules." And
time release.
And I don't know if she drank it, did she?
I don't even remember that. Remember the whole thing.
So
that's me.
That was the time that we passed contact off as ecstasy to Grace Jones.
The first time Ernie passed contact off as ecstasy.
Okay, now a word from our sponsor.
And now a word from our sponsor. Welcome back to the Pew.
Yeah, I should have. Because
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Pew! After I've been reprimanded by Ernie for saying that he sold contact as ecstasy.
Never happened.
Never happened.
I gave it away.
He never did. He never reprimanded me.
I often said to Michael,
he never sold ecstasy.
I often said to Michael, "Here, take this ecstasy."
For free.
For free. I didn't say it was ecstasy. I just said, "Take this ecstasy."
And then at the end of the month, when the rent time came, Michael, remember that ecstasy I gave you?
That exorbitant rent time.
That $40 ecstasy?
Ryan Tyler Smith wants to know about all the interviews and TV appearances that we did. He says that he's seen some of them on YouTube, but he can't find them all. And Michael and I have a collection of many of them, so we're going to put them on.
Guess what? I have them all, including the most obscure ones. I have them all, and my brother put them recently on DVD. So we have everything. In fact, I just got back from Indiana, where I've unpacked my whole storage unit, and I'm overwhelmed again now with box after box. There must be 10 boxes, giant boxes, filled with posters, invitations, and honey trap jars.
Yeah, we just haven't gotten to it.
We haven't. Last night Igor and I started inventorying, and in fact, we were kicked off Facebook.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Friday. But we were asked to leave Facebook.
And really, it's a technical issue too, because I'm
back on Facebook, but
I literally have an hour's worth of video of some of those unseen or little seen shows that we were on, and it's on my laptop, but I can't figure out how to copy it into a standalone video clip.
Well, I've got it all on DVD, so you can take that, right?
All right. Well, see you next time.
There's your answer. Bye.